Welcome to Chandwell. So it's April and I thought it was about time that I got my backscene done. I'm going to use 3D ultra low relief buildings for the most part, but I need some sky behind those buildings. So I've walked up here to the highest point near where I live, up here on beautiful Ilkley Moor. I've got 360-degree view into the distance on all sides. So I'm going to use my phone and try and get a panoramic photograph of the clouds. As you know, the sun doesn't shine in Chandwell, and it was a lovely grey, overcast, grim sort of Chandwell day when I left. But now the sun's come out and the sky is blue, so it might not exactly be the effect that I was after, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. The sun is really bright at the moment, so I don't think this is going to work. That doesn't look too bad. Maybe it will work after all. Let's go back, get it into Inkscape and have a look. I really wanted Chandwell to sit under leaden, drizzly sky. I also felt it important that the backscene does not dominate the layout, so I wanted it to be quite subtle. Once I got home, it was clear that I'd captured some beautiful skies, but they were far bluer and far more beautiful than anyone in Chandwell has ever seen. I used Lightroom on my iPad to desaturate the blues, decrease the contrast and slightly blur the clouds. This only took a few minutes. Once I got it right on one photo, I'll quickly copy the settings to all of the others. I brought the panorama pictures into Inkscape and I started to arrange them into a shape that matches my backscene. I'm used to working in sub-millimetre measurements in Inkscape, but I needed this rectangle to be something like 4,500 millimetres long by 490 high. I scaled the sky pictures to the right height, and this showed me how many I'd need side by side to cover the full layout. I didn't want visible joins obviously, so I used rectangles with graduated black to white fills as masks. This made it easy to blend one sky into the next in a seamless manner. I used oval fills as masks on some clouds to allow me to quickly overlay these individually here and there where I needed them, just basically covering up the big bright blue patches. Finally, I added a semi-transparent grey rectangle over the whole thing. I faded this out towards the left in an attempt to hint at the sky getting bluer as you reach the tunnels above Baker's Hill, which, as you know, lead to nicer places. I'd say the overall effect works really well. I'm really pleased with the subtle hint of nicer places beyond Chandwell. Chandwell is in my garage, and although one wall is plastered, the other two are bare block. So I stuck a spare bit of wood onto this wall with no more nails. I didn't have enough wood or no more nails to do the other side, so I tried sticking sheets of 2mm grey board to the wall using cheap PVA glue. It had a tendency to curl away from the wall, so I constructed towers of books to hold it in place while the glue dried, holding the edges in place with parcel tape. This worked surprisingly well, and I have a nice surface to stick the backscene to. I used Inkscape to create a template which would make the most of an A4 sticky label. I measured the margins of the label and drew a rectangle slightly within this so that if the paper didn't go through exactly correct, I wouldn't overshoot the margins. I added these black guidelines just outside the rectangle to help me line up my ruler when the time came to cut out the card. I duplicated the rectangle enough times to cover the whole sky image. Then, using clipping, it was very easy to create one-page jigsaw pieces. Clip, copy, drag, save as PDF, delete, unclip, clip, copy, drag, save as PDF, and repeat almost 40 times. I printed the jigsaw pieces onto A4 labels on the basic print setting. I gently rolled them onto sheets of 0.5mm grey card. Once stuck, I used the guidelines that I showed earlier to help line up my ruler. I kept the blade turned inwards to give me the best chances of being able to butt the resulting pieces together without too much of a seam showing. I wanted the corners of the backscene to be curved so as to avoid any harsh lines in the sky. I soon noticed that bending a completed piece caused the printed label to bubble and crease, so that was no good. I overcame this by slicing lines in the card all the way through except at the very edges. When the label was stuck and then the edges trimmed off, this gave me a label stuck to many individual strips of card, which was really simple to curve. I stuck a base of 0.5mm card to the wall, just using a very thin strip of Uhu. The backscene is very light, so it doesn't need any more than this, and although it's just my garage, I don't want to destroy the whole wall if I ever need to remove the Backscene. I then just used Oohoo again and carefully smoothed the tiles onto the card wall covering, taking my time to butt the edges together as best as I could. There's very little definition in these clouds, so I had to be careful that I was getting them the right way around. I cut the card into strips and worked my way around the cable trunking. I briefly considered trying to curve the card round, but I thought that the shadows of a bulge would look worse than a defined line in the sky, so I stuck with this approach. As I tiled my way around, I started to get quite excited that the effect was starting to work out. Once I got towards the Baker's Hill end, I had some landscape to contend with. I cut the card as closely to the contour of the land that I could manage. I've hidden the base down here with some bushes, and it's worked out quite well. This large box in the corner, which carries the plumbing from upstairs, can't do much about, so I decided to curve the card on the two outward facing corners and just leave it as one right angle on this bit here. It doesn't look too bad, and I think it was the right decision. I've not yet decided what to do with Charlotte Lane. Some kind of perspective picture of a road going into the distance probably. So, I'm finished. What do you think? I really like the effect. It's much, much better than the bare walls. I'm occasionally not as accurate as I would like to be with the knife, and some of the butt joints are a little messier than the others, but they aren't too noticeable and they certainly don't ruin the effect for me. I am a little bit worried about the colour fastness. These cheap labels don't seem to hold the ink as well as my usual photo paper, and any moisture seems to cause the ink to run and bleed. I'll have to varnish the whole thing, but so far I've not found a varnish that is matte enough. My usual AK interactive varnish, which I love, would cost far too much for such a large surface. I've heard good things about Winsor & Newton Artist Matte. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments, or drop me an email at hello@chandwell.uk. Depending on how I light the clouds, I can represent a light but grey day, or a dark and stormy, drizzly day. And as for the seams, you can definitely see them, but if you don't mind cheating, then they're as simple to remove as dragging a finger across an iPad screen. So photos I take of my layout from now on will have the grey, cloudy sky that really characterises Chandwell. The clouds are intentionally a bit blurry, and their low contrast makes them blend into the background. Not being full of bright colours and stark contrast, they don't overpower the layout, and by blending into the background they fulfil their purpose of being a backdrop to the main thing, which is the town of Chandwell. The Backscene will eventually have low relief buildings along the bottom, which will really set it off well. The abandoned attempt with the layers of Bradford photos give a hint as to how well this may end up working. I've really enjoyed making this Backscene, and I'm pleased it's finally done. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up using the button below. This really does encourage me to continue making Chandwell videos and sharing my layout and its progress with you. It's back to my station building next. Now that the sky is done, I can get it fixed into place and the roof added. Hopefully I'll have a video on this in the next few weeks, and I've got a growing list of your Inkscape questions to answer too. So watch out for my next video. Until then, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.